Today, it's snowing again. 2 weeks ago, came downstairs all ready to go out for a hunt, and this is what I was confronted with. And same things happened today, day after Boxing Day. Did actually go out on the fields yesterday with Paul as the time detectives, and we didn't find any time at all. It was pretty awful. And that's the way it goes. I thought, well, we'll sort that out today, but we're not going to. So I thought, well, it's nice and cosy. I'm not going anywhere. Let's talk about the top 10 finds that I've had over the past 2 years since I started metal detecting again, from about February 2016. So we'll start at number 10, we'll go up to number 1, and I'll try and explain and give as much detail as I can of what I know and understand about each object, and if you know anything else, then please add to that. So that's what we're going to do. So I hope everybody's having a lovely Christmas, and see you at number 10. But just before we get on to number 10, I just wanted to make a point about old bookshops, because I know there's a lot of information can be found on the internet, but reference books are still wonderful. And here's one that I picked up from the Museum of London. Now, this is an expensive book if you buy it in the shop. £30–40. Dress accessories from 1150 to 1450. Wonderful. Yes, I've got books on buckles and books on buttons and stuff, but this has just got, look, here's a section on buttons. Now here's a chap right now. He's obviously lost a really nice decorative button, you know, because if it's one of those plain ones, that's how I'd actually look. But it's absolutely wonderful, and obviously it goes through some of the very early buttons, and the detail, and a lot of these have been dug up around the Thames shoreline. It's absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen some of the decoration and in context how some of the mounts that we find were actually, you know, these belts were just covered in decoration. And look, buckles, absolutely lovely with the buckle plates, integral ones, and oh, I mean, look, it's an absolute dream of a book, you know, and it was just a few pounds. Look at these, and you see all your strap ends there, and oh, well, you know, it's a happy evening researching, and the more books you have, the better. So keep your eyes out in those old bookshops, because for a few pounds you can pick up an awful lot of knowledge. So, in at number 10, 3 pieces of iron. Now, there's a good point why you shouldn't ignore some good iron signals, you know, these ferrous signals that you get. If they're really powerful and strong, you know, give them a dig, because these 3 pieces, I think, are scabbard throats. And this one is a pretty obvious example. You can literally see the shape here where the blade would have gone in there, and you can just see the recess there for the edge of the blade. Absolutely wonderful. And I dug that one, and this one I don't know if that is, but it's certainly designed to be wrapped around something. And then another fragment here, which again is definitely another scabbard throat. So wonderful things. Obviously protected the actual leather sheath of the scabbard, so when you slid the sword in, it's got some decoration, but it's really worn. Now they're iron, so you'd say, well, are they Iron Age? Possibly not. Maybe they're medieval and they're just cheaper versions. Yeah, you would have had bronze obviously on a more expensive piece, but wonderful things indeed. Lovely piece of our history. And who was wandering around the fields? Yeah, where's the rest of this scabbard? Where indeed is the sword? The other purpose they served was obviously on this side where we've lost this end, would have been a ring, and that would have attached to a belt, or I should say a girdle, or a baldric. So in at number 9, well, I couldn't make my mind up. So we've got 3 things, and actually they're all mystery objects to me. I really don't know what they are. This first one on the left is obviously a lovely big mount, and you can see this would have had lots of enamel, coloured enamel here, and it's definitely a bird. The interesting thing is it's got this recess here, as if it went over some sort of rib. So whatever it was mounted to had a rib on it. It's a beautiful thing, lovely, gorgeous patination. And if anybody knows what it is, then please shout out. Okay, so then this one here. Now I had this tested and it's silver, and it really looks Tudor, doesn't it? And if you see, it looks like some sort of clasp. You see that? But yeah, I can find nothing in clothing accessories that looks anything like it. Was it a clip to hold paper documents together? Really don't know. It's a beautiful thing. It gave a lovely signal. Dug that out last February, I think. Gorgeous. So again, you know, mystery object. So do let me know if you think you know what it is. Now, and thirdly, this is bronze. And what is it? Look at the shape. It looks as if something's been broken off of here, but not too much. Now, I've had this for quite a long time, and when you look at it like this, it almost looks fishy. I've called it the fishy thing, and it's got this decorative. It doesn't really look like scaling, but I think maybe it's an eel. It could be Bronze Age. I mean, you know, the eel traps, Bronze Age, very much in. I mean, I don't think they worshipped them, but they were quite important. It's too heavy to be a piece of you know, jewellery or anything, but really not sure. So in at number 8, it's a Tudor brooch, and I found this very recently, just over the permission I used with Paul. He wasn't with me that day, and when I first dug it up, you may have seen the video, I thought it was a buckle, and it wasn't until I really got home and realised, look, this is a brooch, and it's a beautiful one. I mean, it's similar to the earlier medieval annular brooches, but it's rectangular, but shown in this sort of more of a lozenge shape fashion, with the pin arranged here in one of the corners, and these lovely little lobe knops here, and it's very, very Tudor. And I've got one example in my book that I was just talking about earlier. And there's a very similar example where the pin has actually got a separate bar here where the pin would have been attached, but shown in the rectangle turned 45 degrees. And yeah, so thanks to my new book, I can ID that, but it was pretty obvious that it was Tudor just by the style. So, in at number 7. Now, I dug this up about a year ago, right next to that is really worn out Roman coin, but it was Roman, and when I dug this up I wasn't quite sure. I thought it was some sort of harness mount or something. It wasn't until I turned it over that I realised there was a spoon bowl, and it's a Roman spoon bowl, and this sort of, I don't know, this deposit inside here could possibly have been the last meal it had. It's all sort of crusted in there, and it doesn't look like it was earth, and it doesn't look like a reaction to the bronze. So I'd say there you are, there's a spoon. Now, obviously, it had a long, thin handle, and the other end would have been pointed, maybe used as a toothpick. But what a lovely thing indeed. I was so pleased to find that. It's got a little rest there, so obviously when it's turned over there, you can just rest like that. And I thought that was smashing, and I love Roman stuff, and that is just brilliant. So, in at number 6, well, I couldn't go too long without a lovely hammered coin. And this was actually the first one that I found going back a couple of Aprils ago. It wasn't until I turned it over that I realised that it wasn't English. Not at all. Side profile. I guessed it was Scottish when I got home and researched it. I mean, look at it. It's in beautiful condition. There's the cross is slightly grinning through from the other side, but it's really well struck and not clipped much at all. And you can see he's scepter there by his eye. Alexander III of Scotland. You know, he became king, in 13th of July, 1249, I believe. And he married Margaret, who was the daughter of Henry III and Eleanor of Provence. She gave him 3 children. But she died, I think, 1251, and sadly all his 3 children died also. He actually remarried then, I think in 1285, just a year before his death, to a Yolande de Dukes, I believe it's pronounced, and she didn't give him any children. She had a birthday. She was in Fife. He was in Edinburgh. He'd spent the evening and he thought, oh, it's her birthday, I'm going to go and visit her. And the weather conditions were really bad. His guide said, no, my lord, don't go. But he did. And he got lost from his entourage, and he was found the next day laying dead with a broken neck. Some say he fell from a cliff, but there wasn't any cliffs around, so don't know who said that. That was rubbish. But what a wonderful coin, and what a lovely piece of history. Well, in at number 5, something else that when I dug up, I just dismissed as a piece of rubbish, put it in my bag, Lord, it gave me a good signal around the 70s, so I thought, well, it's not iron. When I got home and cleaned it up, I was presented with this, and it's a buckle plate. And here the buckle would have come out of here as a single D buckle, or maybe a double D. And this would have been beautifully enamelled. It's some sort of dragon. Now Limoges, which I know this is where it came from, the factory was from about 1150. They started in France, and actually they're still going. This is an early example. It's mostly from about 1150, 1250. A really high status buckle indeed. Lovely. It's still got a rivet in there and another one in there. Turn it over. This was full of rotten leather. It really was. It was mostly mud. So I had to clean it all out. And you can just see that there's one catch left there where the buckle would have gone through. The other one snapped off. The buckle must have broke off as well for it to have slid out of there. There's still traces of enamel. So you can see there's a bit of blue there. There's a little bit of yellow in its tail. There's some green in here. This would have all been filled up as well, as you'll see on some illustrations of ones that bring it back to life. It was a really special find. If it had been complete, and wow, it would have been really something else. But I was very happy with that. It made for a really good day. So in number 4, well, following that lovely Limoges buckle plate, a complete one. I mean, not to the high status, obviously. I mean, if I found the Limoges one like this, oh gosh. But there it is. There is a medieval buckle, a very simple D-shaped buckle there with the pin and the buckle plate, with 3 of the rivets still intact. It's a beautiful thing, medium size. Look at that, absolutely gorgeous. It was all folded up when I found it, but that really did make my day. Obviously it would have been attached to a leather belt here, would have been used, maybe it's not quite large enough to be used as a sword belt, but certainly a personal sort of a girdle where you would have been hanging all of your purse and other items, possessions. It's a wonderful thing. Look at that lovely green patination. There's something about bronze. It just looks so gorgeous. I mean, okay, it would have been gilded. There's no signs of any gilt left. I'm sure it would have been mostly been silver or gold. Yeah, it was a happy day indeed. The sun just came out as soon as I dug that up. And so into number 3, and this was one of the first things I actually found on my very first permission. I didn't find many things on that permission, but the couple of things I did find, including my number 1, was from there, nearly over 2 years ago now. And there it was. I was just digging away, flicked it over. I had a bit of a job trying to find it, and I was scratching around in the mud, and then I turned it over, and well, you know, it's a Saxon shat, isn't it? The shatter. What a beautiful thing. A single unit, a silver penny. It's in lovely, gorgeous condition. It's one of the, I think it's the first phase, about 690 to 740. Mostly struck around the Rhineland region. And then obviously imported it into this country. And it's lovely. It's got this lovely septral annulet. It's got this lovely little angular design around here, set with a square. A little bit of wear on that side, but it's in really good condition. You've got this lovely cross palming cross there, and you know, I mean, I was absolutely overjoyed with it. So, and so in at number 2, yeah, have you guessed what it is? It's a medieval sword shape, or I believe it is, and it's a lovely story here. I was just detecting away one afternoon, and you will see that it's in 2 parts. And I did find this part first. Again, wasn't sure what it was. I mean, it just looks like a bit of junk, but it's got some decoration. So in a little bag and wash it up. 2 paces, only 2 paces later, that comes up. Now that's really good news, but it also does suggest that the break looks really, really old, that stuff doesn't move in the ground that much, not as much as you may think. They were so close, but what a wonderful thing. You know, it was to protect the bottom of the leather scabbard. So now obviously this, you'd say it's in the same field as the scabbard throats that I got, but this is bronze. Those throat top ends were iron. Could be the same, but what a wonderful thing. And you can actually see, although it's a bit bent up, that you can see the quatrefoil there, and I mean that design is just heavy in medieval architecture, floor tiles, you know, glass and jewellery. It's wonderful. It's just one of my favourite finds. I mean, who lost that? And so it's time for number 1, and I thought I'd get myself all Christmased up and wish everybody a lovely Christmas and a very happy New Year. The find I'm about to show you, I did find just before New Year 2 years ago on my very first permission, and it made me very, very happy indeed. What do you think it is? It's Roman, and it's complete. And here it is, my favourite find. And yeah, so when I dug that up, I thought, oh, that's a nail. I was right on the edge of the field. I just put the shovel in, turned it over, and the winter before then there'd been wheat in there, and it was very loose. It was just like stubble, and it was just laying in the stubble. I mean, just to give you an idea of scale, there it is, about 5 inches long. As clean as you see it now. There's a little bit of corrosion around here, but on the whole, look at that. A patination on here and just a slight bend there. Well, I think we can forgive that. What a wonderful thing indeed. And I mean, there's such a social history connected with this, because obviously the women's hairstyles were really sort of bunched up and big in that period, and these pins would go through the hair and hold it all into place, and they mostly had quite a few. This is a very plain one. I have to say that it's just got a little sort of notch around the shoulder there and a hemispherical end, but it's plain. Some of them are highly detailed and the much higher status, but still 1800 years in the ground. This is absolutely wonderful. And as I say, these women's hairstyles, they took it very, very seriously. The wives of the emperors and that, they would literally have their statues with removable hair pieces. So come, the next season, their hairstyle's out, they would literally have another hairstyle sort of, cut out of marble and popped back on to keep them in date. So what a wonderful thing. And, maybe I'll find others in time, but a whole one, I doubt very much. So as far as I'm concerned, that's my number one, and that keeps me going, and I can't wait till this snow clears and I can get back out there and find some more stuff. So thank you all for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and very happy New Year to you all.